You may be sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of talking about it. But there's no question that influenza is still the most important health issue of the week, so it's the topic of today's video. This is Healthcare Triage News. This year's flu season is the worst in the decade. It's certainly the worst since 2009's swine flu pandemic, and it's getting worse every day. In 2014 and 15, there were 34 million cases of flu, more than 700,000 hospitalizations, and about 56,000 deaths. This season looks to be worse. And this is just in the United States. Add in the rest of the world and the numbers get even higher. For 3 weeks now, health departments in 49 states have reported widespread flu activity. Go Hawaii. Everyone else is getting screwed. The CDC is reporting that more than 6.5% of all patients visiting doctors right now have flu symptoms. The 2014-15 season peaked lower than that, at around 6%. Almost 12,000 people have been hospitalized with confirmed cases of flu, and that number went up by 3,000 in just a week, according to the CDC. According to the Washington Post, in California, hospitals are pitching tents outside their emergency rooms to cope with numbers of patients they're seeing. Other hospitals are having to fly in nurses from out of state. Doctors are working round the clock. In Chicago, they don't have enough beds for all the patients, so the ambulances holding flu victims sit idling outside the hospitals. In New York, state leaders this week issued an emergency order allowing pharmacists to give vaccines to children. This week, 7 more kids died from flu-related complications, which brings the season's total to 37. That's not a good trend based on past years. The CDC thinks we might pass the 148 deaths in the 2014-15 season. Pretty much every year, people 65 years and older are at the highest risk for hospitalization and complications. Second, it's infants and children, but even then, they're way behind the elderly. But this year, it's people aged 50 to 64 who are tracking behind the elderly. That's not normal. They're also the least likely to be vaccinated. So much of this is preventable. The CDC estimated that in the 2015-16 flu season, the flu shot prevented more than 5 million cases of the flu, about 2.5 million medical visits, and more than 70,000 hospitalizations. It was also estimated that it might have prevented 3,000 deaths. It's not too late to get a flu shot. And don't just think about yourself. Remember herd immunity. Adults need to get vaccinated to protect children and babies. They need to get vaccinated to protect older people and the immunocompromised. This is true for almost all diseases, including the flu. And for goodness sake, practice good hygiene. Stay home if you're sick. Stay away from other sick people. And wash your hands again and again. Stay safe. We like to make videos about topics that sometimes YouTube doesn't like to sell to advertisers, and that's fine because the content matters more than the money. Having said that, we appreciate any support you might give us through a subscription service called patreon.com, which allows you, the users, to support the show in any way you want. Go to patreon.com/healthcaretriage if you're interested in helping the show. And while we've got you, think about subscribing or maybe like the video. We've got some great merch, httmerch.com, which is really DFTBA, but it's an easy way to get there. And of course, my book is still selling, The Bad Food Bible. Really appreciate it if you pick up a copy.